In this video, I'm gonna show you the fastest, easiest way to read the notes in your music. Note reading does not have to feel slow and frustrating. There's a much easier way. Now, this week's video is a sequel to last week's video where I talk about how all the main methods of learning how to read the notes at the piano will ultimately leave you pretty frustrated when you sit down to play a sheet of music. Those methods only teach you how to read the notes. And if you want to be able to play songs, then just knowing how to read the notes is not enough. You need to learn how to read and play at the same time. And that's a different method and process than just learning how to read the notes. In this video, I'm focused on the specific steps of this note reading method that will teach you not just how to read the notes, but how to read and play them at the same time in a faster, easier way. Okay, here we go. Step 1, focus on learning and knowing just 4 notes with your right hand and 4 notes with your left hand. Forget about all the other notes for now and just focus on 8 notes. So I like to think about music like a puzzle, and these 8 notes represent the edge pieces. We'll fill in all of the other notes later, but for right now, just focus on these 8 notes. Okay, so what are the 8 notes? Let's go to the piano and I'll show you. Okay, we're gonna start with your right hand notes in the treble clef. So the first one is middle C, and then we hop up to the G that's above middle C, and then we go up to this high C up here, and then we go to the high F. So F, down to C, down to G, and on middle C. With our left hand in the bass clef, we're gonna start on middle C, then we're gonna hop down to this F, hop down again to the lower C, and then go all the way down to the low G, which is on the bottom line. So if you start from the bottom and go up, G, hop up to C, hop up to F, hop up to middle C. So now that you know which 8 notes to focus on learning and knowing, the absolute best way you can put this into action is by reading and playing sheet music that only uses these 8 notes. This way, you're really making it easy on your brain to start connecting where a note is on the staff to its location on the piano. And you're forcing yourself to not read the letter name, but instead to move your hand to the note's location on the piano. Now, the other way you can try practicing this is by getting note flashcards for just these 8 notes. But just as a warning, don't go through these flashcards and just read the letter name. Make sure that you're sitting down at the piano and playing the correct key instead of just reading the note's letter name. Okay, so now you might be asking yourself, how long should I spend learning just these 8 notes? Now, it might be different from person to person, but if you're thinking, I'll just try this for a day. No, don't do that. If you only give it a day, it won't sink in. You'll probably forget all of these notes a couple days later, and then you'll be right back where you started with note reading still feeling super slow. If you want this method to really start working for you, I suggest spending about 3 to 5 days consistently playing sheet music that only uses these 8 notes. By the end of 3 to 5 days, you should be reading and playing those notes pretty easily and comfortably. But if it doesn't yet feel easy, really pinpoint why and specifically which notes you need to focus on, which notes still feel difficult. Once you know these 8 notes really well, you can read and play them in music comfortably. Step 2 is where we learn how to easily read new notes. And we learn how to read new notes by learning to recognize how the notes are connected to each other, specifically the distances between the notes. When we learn to read the distances, we don't have to read each individual note. Instead, we're reading our notes and how they connect to each other, reading our music as a whole. This way, you avoid having to memorize every single note, and instead, you just learn how to read and recognize the distances between notes. So there are 7 distances that you want to know, but really just knowing the first 4 are gonna help you tremendously in reading the notes faster. So for the rest of the video, we're just gonna focus on these first 4 distances so you can see for yourself how knowing these distances will help you read your notes so much faster. Okay, here's the first distance you want to know really well, the step. Here's an example where we go from C up to D, and we're following the pattern of going from a line note up to the very next space note. The next distance to know is the skip, or the third, and that's where we go from one line to the very next line, or from a space to the next space. So we're gonna go from the line of middle C up to the line of E, just like that. Skip. The third distance to know is what I like to call a step-skip combination. So it's where we have a step and a skip, also known as a fourth. So if I start on middle C, I would be going up to F. This is what it would look like on the keys. This is what it would look like on the staff. And the fourth distance is what I like to call the double skip, okay? So if we were to start on middle C, we'd be going all the way up to this G right here. On the staff, you're gonna notice that you're skipping from middle C's line, you're skipping over E, and you're skipping again up to the next line. So a double skip or a fifth is gonna follow the pattern of line to line, or like another example would be this one where you're going space to space. This way of seeing your music is how I can read and play so many songs on the piano with minimal practice time. Because I can read and play them at the same time, I can just sit down and play. Yes, it still takes time and practice to implement this method of reading sheet music. But if you've been waiting to just wake up one day and for note reading to suddenly feel easier, you're probably gonna be waiting a long time. The sooner that you start implementing this method of reading music, the faster you'll see progress, and the more that this will really start to stick and feel easy so that you can sit down at the piano and read and play more songs that you love. Now, if you want to be able to remember these steps and what we covered in this video, I've got a free download below. In that download, I included a piece of sheet music that uses just these 8 notes so that you can get started using this method right away. Hey, now I know we talked about a lot today, so if you're needing a little brain break, I'm putting a beginner tutorial over here, something that's really easy and simple. You'll be able to play it within minutes, includes this sheet music. I walk you through exactly how to play it. Go check it out.